you lose access to your platform, it doesn't just rebound back as soon as YouTube or whoever gives you back access, right? It doesn't just come back. What happens is that your stats are reset, and you're basically, if we're talking about YouTube specifically, it's as if you're relaunching your channel.
Hey, Liron, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, excited to be here. Let's do this.
Let's do it. Today, I know that it's not just, one episode where people can, listen in, they can actually learn a lot. I'm pretty sure about it, because the more even in our company, there are scammers that try to, scam our employees with fake emails. And then sometimes I have to check, is actually your password very strong? And then they tell me yeah, put the dog name and 1, 2, 3, And I'm like, okay, we have to do a lot of work on that. But before we get started, we go inside, ins and outs of, cybersecurity and everything that matters also for creators these days. Why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself? We do it in a way that is called a map. So basically just divided in 3 different chapters, let's say like that. The first one is the mission. So basically, what do you aim to achieve? The second one is achievements. Anything that you are very proud of, milestone, could be your career or your life that you want to share with us. And that's why it is the purpose. So why do you do what you do?
So my mission is essentially to help as many content creators as possible not get hacked. And we're going to dive into this quite a lot today, but this is a very, very rising trend that we're really worried about. Creators are the new celebrities, and man, are we in trouble. They're coming after us. So my big mission is to make sure that as many creators as possible just keep their channels, their platform safe from these hackers so they don't lose everything that they spent years building and lose all that revenue. As far as kind of what I've been through and where the things that I've come up with, I've been very fortunate to work as a YouTube growth strategist, which basically means I help creators understand their data, understand YouTube, how YouTube works, understand content and analytics, and help them grow their channels. So with that, I've been really fortunate to work with some insanely amazing creators, probably the biggest creators on the platform. If you think about them, I've probably worked with them at some point in time. I've traveled around the world. I'm originally from South Africa, and my YouTube has brought me to the US.
Many times, people think that, whatever, it's not going to happen to me, right? They don't even go through that, and they don't think twice about it. But first of all, what are some of the, I would say, most common either threats or, challenges that some creators are facing these days? Just to go, and give us a quick idea, and now we can go in each of them.
Okay, so firstly, man, if I had a dollar every time somebody told me, it will never happen to me, I could have retired a long time ago. This is the biggest thing, is a lot of creators really think that they're super smart and they're super aware, and only fools and idiots fall for these scams, and that's why they're perfectly fine. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And I have seen this across all platforms. I like to specialize in YouTube, but I've seen it on TikTok, I've seen it on Instagram, I've seen it on Facebook, and I've definitely seen it on places like LinkedIn. So this is across the board. It doesn't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter how savvy you are. Remember that they have to get it right once.
Yeah.
Right? You got to get it right 100% of the time. And all of us, with no exception, it doesn't matter how good our technical ability is, at a certain point, we will let our guard down. And I can tell you cases of time and time again of really big creators who are technology savvy. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they fell for it, including security experts who teach this stuff. And they also fell for a scam. It is very possible. So if there's one thing we need to take away from all of our discussion, is that we can't think it will never happen to us. Mm-hmm. We got to think that we have a business, we're creators, we got to protect it. And what do we need to do to make sure that we're safe?
And are you seeing more on the phishing side, the scamming emails, the passwords that are not strong enough? Are you noticing any patterns? Is it a combination of things, or there is something that is okay, number one that I see like as a big mistake is this one?
So yeah, it's a good question. It depends on the platform and it depends on the creator, but most importantly, it depends on the kind of scammer or hacker that is out there. And before we answer the question, let's go into the dark web. Let's go into the hacker side for a second, because I think it's important to understand who we are up against, right? So we have the hackers who are out there who are just simply can go and buy a service. Like we go and pay a monthly subscription fee to like Netflix or a monthly subscription fee to Spotify. You can literally go onto the dark web and pay a monthly subscription fee, and the entire technology of malware is available to you to push a button and attack anybody that you want. So number one is that the hacker doesn't have to be super smart. They don't have to be really sophisticated and to really pull this off, because they can just go buy the service from a company that sells it on the dark web. So they're going after creators, and what they're going after is very much low-hanging fruit. And what I mean by that is they're going to send hundreds and thousands of emails, text messages, instant messages every single day to creators. And they just need a very tiny percentage of those people to click through. And this could be a password attempt. It could be a phishing attempt. It could be ways that they could bypass your two-factor authentication, which we all think is super secure and nobody can get around. Easily we can get around that. So it's across the board. To answer your question, it's across the board. We're not seeing one specific pattern, but what we are seeing that's coming up a little bit ahead is that if it's a big enough creator that is doing, it's got a large following and is doing large brand deals, working with sponsors, they seem to be the ones who are falling for it the most, and not through a fault of their own, but the attack is so sophisticated that they're able to bypass the two-factor authentication and take over whatever platforms they're on.
That's crazy. Yeah, I saw some videos about that, how easy to bypass. And you think like, hey, I put that like, authenticator on my app or like by SMS with a code. And yes, I saw so many technical videos on how easy it is, especially like, again, if you're tech savvy, maybe a bit like, you think twice, but if you're not that much, you could be a great content creator, but maybe you never really been into that, and be like, oh, whatever. I never thought, right, that I needed that because of that, and so like, also was interesting now that you were mentioning this thing about, also, fake emails and fake SMS and so on. There is one that I'm very interested in and I would like to discuss with you. This also even happened to me where some of these scammers use my name, my face, my title. They sent on behalf of me, let's say like that, emails, pretending and presenting me as I was working for another brand and be like, hey, reply to this email, yada, yada, yada. Another time, even think that I was as a testimonial on a website. There was a legit website, okay, a tool. They duplicated these on some servers where, we all know legislation is like more light, let's say like that. They duplicated that. They basically was a official website, and they were sending emails out asking creators to, in order to see if you are eligible for this, a campaign, please put your Instagram or TikTok credentials. My face was in there. In that period of my life, I received so many DMs asking me like, is this legit? What is happening? So it's crazy, right? So I got even part of that, even if I'm not a content creator myself, but I got somehow because of that. So how can a content creator, first of all, understand like, is this legit? Is this fake? What are some of the checklists to go over to be like, I don't want to get my passwords that somehow, a leak or anything like that?
Today, it's so simple to take an image of somebody and basically make it do anything you want it to do. We're seeing a lot of deep fakes, especially with AI that's coming in. It used to be the old days of security was I could find an image on you on Google, I can right click, I can save it to my desktop, use some Photoshop, stick it on my website, and now it looks like you're endorsing my product.
Yeah.
Today, it gets even more sophisticated because I could make a video of you actually talking and saying, hey, this product is great. I made $1 million with brand deals on this website. Come and join us. And then it ruins your reputation.
Yeah.
the problem with AI and the problem that the world that we're living in at the moment, it's very difficult to monitor your own image. And especially us as content creators, we have hours of videos, hours of footage, hours of our voice being cloned, online, which is so easy to clone. And you have software like 11 Labs as one example, where somebody can train a AI software to sound like us, and they could just type any script that they want, and it looks like we're actually saying it. Now, of course, this goes against 11 Labs' terms of service, absolutely, and they're trying to kind of protect themselves as much as possible. But this stuff is happening all the time. What we've got to be aware of as content creators is that when we get those emails to say, hey, come and join this platform, hey, fill out the form to see if you want to work with this brand, we've got to do our own research. We can't just rely on the fact that it came from an email. We do the basics. If it comes from a Gmail address, pretty much you can ignore it, right?
Exactly.
No legitimate company is going to save that $50 a year on buying their own domain. Okay, so that's the one thing. The second thing is, we used to be able to look at the text in the email and see if it's written in the correct format. But with ChatGPT, that's no longer possible because it just writes a great email. So we've got to look out for those things. When you're going to click on a link, don't click on the link. You take your mouse, you hover over that link, copy that link. So right-click and copy, and then go to a website called virustotal.com. Paste the link into that site. And what that does is that it goes and scans that website to look for viruses, malware, see what the reputation of that website is, see how recently it was registered, and then it will give you some indication of whether this is a legit or a long-time company or whether this is new. So I'll just tell you a very quick story on that. I just got an email from GoPro, the action cam company. And it was super exciting because they wanted me to work with them on their new range of cameras and to do something for that. And then they sent me the link and they wanted me to go to the website and download the new catalog, but it was password protected. Abso-friggin-lutely not. Okay. This is a huge, huge red flag. If you ever get an email from a brand saying that you've got to download a zip file or a raw file, it's like a compressed file, and you need to put a password in, the answer is no. Never, ever do that, because malware is hidden inside that document, and the reason that they do it, because a password protected file doesn't get scanned by your antivirus right at that moment. Only once you've opened it, then it starts running through the scans. So a very, very, very important tip is never, ever open a password protected file. The way that I do when I work with a brand and they send to me, hey, here is the legal agreements, right? Here is the PDF that you need to sign, or here is the stock footage we need you to use. Those are pretty standards when we work with the companies. What I say to them is upload it to Google Drive or Dropbox. Make sure it's not zipped, so I want to see the actual PDF, and then send me the link. And the reason I do that, because Google Drive and Dropbox and any of those cloud storage are not going to host malware. So as long as it's not zipped, it's got to be opened, they send you the link, then it's pretty much a safe way to do it.
Hello! Is your brand ready to amplify its reach? Well, the Influencer Marketing Factory is here to do just that. We are a global influencer marketing agency helping brands ignite their growth, from influencer identification to campaign strategy, handling legalities and agreements to managing shipping and logistics. We have it all covered. We work with hundreds of brands across different verticals, from Fortune 500 companies to DTC brands. And we don't just stop there. With detailed ROI analysis, we help brands like yours measure success, transforming impressions into actionable conversions. You can find us at the influencermarketingfactory.com or just search the Influencer Marketing Factory on Google.
So, you know what? Something that people don't realize is that, nowadays with new technology and everything, it's getting a bit better, but still a lot of domains can have spoofing of email addresses. Like, you can still pretend, right, to be an email domain, and they actually come from name at the exact domain because the mail got spoofed, right? If you didn't did the exact set up, so you can still receive from the email thinking that is that one. I think maybe one of the only ways to go to the code, like the source code of the email. But come on, how many people are gonna do that?
Nobody's gonna do that. Nobody's gonna do it.
Any recommendation there, or is there anything else that you recommend?
If I have a password that's, let's just say, I think it's like 9 characters, and it's uppercase, lowercase with a special symbol and a number, it takes me 6 hours to crack that password.
Yeah.
If I have a password that's just uppercase and lowercase, so it's a simpler password, but it's 11 characters,
okay,
that takes me a month.
Right.
So just by adding more characters, exponentially builds your password protection. So when we say complicated password, this is why the websites are insisting on this 12-character password, because it takes forever.
Yeah.
Every additional character, it just adds infinitely amount of time. So it's important to have good passwords. Also, just enable 2-step of verification or 2-step authentication on everything.
Yeah.
But don't use your cell phone text message as a way to get the one-time PIN. Why? Because it's very simple to be able to clone your cell phone number, and now I get your one-time PIN. Now, it does take another level of sophistication to do that, so it's not for everybody. But as in the hacking kind of community, we should say, if I'm able to clone your cell phone number, I got everything that you get access to. So I don't like the one-time PIN via text message. There are great apps like Google Authenticator and Authy. They work on both iOS and Android. And what they do is they have these numbers that are constantly changing. And that is much harder for somebody to go and steal that.
Wow. That's true. Especially if you use the same password over and over on different servers. Like the time that it got leaked, you can access to all these different tools, right? And by the way, talking about that, and I know there are so many services out there on leaked password databases and so on. But you also have something, right? The creator alerts, right? Can you tell us a bit more, or some of the resources that you actually created to help the others out and understand, there is a new bug in this thing, pay attention to these, and so on?
Yeah. So when I looked at the industry, and I'm a security trained by background, but my passion is really helping creators. So I thought, well, somebody else has got to be teaching this stuff, or somebody else has got to have some service, and let me just go and buy it for my clients. The problem is that us as creators, we typically are independent. It's just me. Yeah. I got my camera, I got my lights. Maybe I have a team of 2 or 3 freelancers. That's kind of the typical creator world. So the cybersecurity world isn't really catering for us because we're not a 100-man company or a 50-man company, right? So we don't have 50 bums on seats in one office. So what I realized, nobody's doing it. I've got to do something. So I created this thing called Creator Alerts. Essentially, it's an email, like a good old email newsletter. But I don't send it weekly. Or the only time I will send an email is when there's something that you need to know about as a creator. So if we discovered something going on, and that in a Fortune 50 company where their $100,000 router got hacked, nobody really cares, right? But if we discovered something that impacts you as a creator, you want to know about it. And I'll give you a very quick example of something that literally just happened. Was a lot of us creators, we don't give up personal home address. We have a PO box, or we have a post office. So if people want to send us anything, it goes to there, and then we go and collect it. What we've just discovered was that what they did was they put an AirTag into a package. They mailed the package to these creators so they could follow them and realize where they were, and then get their home address, get their studio address. And in fact, one of the creators that had this happen to was filming a music video, and all these fans just showed up at the music scene, at the music set, because they had the air tracker. So when we discover something like this, that is when we send out a quick alert, say, hey, heads up, here is what's going on, and here is what you need to do about it. So in this particular case, when you get a package, open it at the place just to check that nobody's put any trackers in there. So it's those things which are super important for us as creators to be aware when something impacts us. We don't care about the bigger, the bigger stuff in the cybersecurity world. It's too nerdy, it's too geeky, it doesn't impact us. But when something like Adobe has a vulnerability, which a lot of us use Adobe, right? We want to know about it. So that is what we do with the creator alerts out of it.
You're telling me so many crazy stories. Like it's just like Mr. Robot episode. Like it's just something that But is there anything else? So this is the mailing list. Is there anything else that are either working on, or something that are super excited, that just to wrap up on the episode, maybe with something that either I didn't ask you today that you want to highlight, or something else that maybe you are working on that are super excited about?
So we've got, there's always something going on, right? So we've, a lot of people asking me like, well, what must I do? What tools should I use? All of those. So I've actually got a guide, like a security guide. It is geared towards YouTube. I will say that, but a lot of the practices do apply across the board. So we have that. I'm sure we'll have some links in the show notes of the podcast as well. So you can have access to that. And then if you are a YouTube creator, I've got a full training course on how to keep safe as a YouTube creator at securityforcreators.com. And we are working on programs for TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, just to help other creators on other platforms at the moment. So that is also coming.
Fantastic. I love it. I mean, like it's very important. I hope that many people will continue follow your guides, even like in person, especially like Bitcoin and all the others. I feel that it's very important to talk about security because algorithm and how to get more brand deals, absolutely. But then if you lose everything, right, because of the wrong link, then
well, and that's the thing, is that security is not sexy. Let's be honest, right? Everybody wants more views, more subscribers, more followers, bigger brand deals. I get that that's the cool, sexy stuff. But here's what happens. You lose access to your platform. It doesn't just rebound back as soon as YouTube or whoever gives you back access, right? It doesn't just come back. What happens is that your stats are reset. And you're basically, if we're talking about YouTube specifically, it's as if you're relaunching your channel. So think about all your AdSense, think about all your brand deals, all that revenue that you have. That goes to zero now, because it takes 60 seconds for somebody to take over your channel. 60 seconds. If in the next minute you're locked out of your platform, how does that impact you?
That makes sense. Thank you so much for joining me today for all these great pragmatic and practical tips. I'm pretty sure that many people already are gonna go and add another couple of characters in their password, then they're gonna do a couple of things here and there. So thank you so much for joining again and sharing all your knowledge with us.
I appreciate the time and the platform, and hopefully together we can just make sure people are safer, and that's all we want.
So this was the Influence Factor by the Influencer Marketing Factory, and I'll see you next week.